Salvage, a story by user Rantarian. Chapter 48, Expectations Not Met. Low orbit of Vezan homeworld. It had been brown trousers time from the moment Adrian had realized that hurling himself out of a space station, even by accident, was a colossal fucking mistake. The vast expanse of a planet had been right below him, and visions of re-entry without a spaceship flashed through his mind. Those were not the thoughts of an optimist, and for some fucking reason he had thought it was a good idea to start using his broken arm. There really was no accounting for the decisions he made while he was in his more pragmatic state of mind.
"Is there anyone out there?"
he asked, flicking his communicator link to all registered recipients and swallowing the nerves that told him there wasn't. "Ask it here," the Kortai responded. "I've got Jen out here with me somewhere. Godugan did not reach her helmet before the explosive decompression." "This wasn't part of the plan?" Jen added, sounding more than slightly panicked, which in Adrian's view was more than justified. He wouldn't have blamed her for being a gibbering mess, for that matter.
"I'd have remembered if this was part of the plan. I would have voted against it."
"Yep,"
Adrian said, laughing with Gallo's humor.
"We're pretty fucked right here."
"Excellent. Adrian has gone completely mad," Askett said with false cheer. "Shall we join him? Let's all laugh in the face of death. Ha ha ha."
"I suppose you've got to laugh, or you'll cry,"
Jen mused, and started to giggle crazily.
"Pirate Queen, Colonial Governor, Orbital Debris."
"Colonial Governor?"
Adrian asked, taking interest.
"That's a new one."
"Oh, I didn't tell you yet,"
Jen replied excitedly.
"Earth want to make my little pirate base the first human colony."
"And they made you the governor?"
Adrian asked. It sounded pretty dubious.
"Ah, you're such a skeptic," Jen admonished him. "Although I'll admit, I didn't think it made a lick of sense either."
"So what are you doing after this?"
Adrian asked, suppressing a laugh. "I was thinking of floating around here until I died," Askett muttered angrily. "So far I haven't found anything more exciting to do."
"Well, you'll be pleased to know my calendar is entirely clear,"
Jen replied, politely ignoring the Kortai.
"What did you have in mind?"
"I was thinking of making a trip down to the planet,"
Adrian said, as though he was actually considering it.
"I hear the weather's good. Might be a little bit hot."
"Try being Irish," she joked. "You'll absolutely burn up."
It wasn't particularly funny, but they laughed together until they ran out of laughs. Then they were silent.
"So this is it, then?"
mused Jen sadly.
"Can't say I ever really thought I'd go out this way."
"I always thought somebody would shoot me," Adrian replied. "You, most recently."
She sighed.
"I wasn't going to shoot you, Adrian."
"I know."
Askett interrupted them. "So, primitive Deathworlders, I have a joke for you."
"We're a little past the joking stage,"
Adrian said grimly.
"This is more the acceptance stage."
"None of that," Askett said firmly. "I think you'll like this one."
"Fine,"
Jen said in resignation.
"It's not as if you're going to get another chance to tell it. Go on."
"Excellent," Askett said, sounding pleased with himself. "What's short, lucky, and grey, and is standing on a Kelsey retrieval ship?" Jen and Adrian were both completely silent for a moment.
"You're fucking shitting me,"
accused Jen.
"You've been rescued."
Adrian twisted around to try and see where the Kortai had got to, and it took him a good few turns to spot the little ship in the distance. "I don't know if I'd call it rescued," Askett replied. "They've got guns pointed at me, but I'd still call this a win." "I maintain that this was all part of my plan," Askett told the two humans as they were ushered into the prisoner holding pen. "Slightly modified."
"That was a bit close for my liking," Adrian replied. "Let's try to avoid those sorts of plans in future."
"Desperate ones?" Askett asked. "Oh no, I enjoy watching my companions die, and coming within moments of my own death. I find it absolutely life-affirming." Adrian frowned and didn't answer, knowing that this was just how the little Kortai vented his own anger and fear. The fact was, all three of them were enemies of the Kelsey Alliance to a certain degree. Jen most of all by a country mile, and they weren't in the best condition to overpower all of the guards and steal the ship. His broken arm ached with a sharp, throbbing pain that was getting hard to ignore. It was a nice ship, too, Adrian thought to himself. Not as nice as the Zottersill, but it didn't have that lethally radioactive glow, and its reactor presumably worked. So on second thought, it was actually much, much better.
"How are you going, Jen?"
he asked her, knowing that the answer was somewhere between not good and having a nervous breakdown. She'd been through stuff that would have broken a lot of trained servicemen. It was no surprise that she was suffering for it.
I'm getting there,
she replied shakily, clinging to his good arm and looking around at their new accommodation.
Just the thing with Margarita, and then with Cadogan and drifting in space.
Her voice trembled and broke, and he held her close with his good arm so she could cry against his chest. He didn't move, just let her cry while he whispered quiet reassurances to her, in the hope that they might work. She was warm against him, and damp with the sweat from the vacuum suit. The scent of her made him heady, and his breath grew ragged as he fought down his desire. There was a time and a place for that, and although it did help him stop thinking about the pain, this was certainly not it. Except she had stopped crying at some point, and had remained pressed against him. He could feel the rise and fall of her chest against his, her breath as ragged as his.
I wonder how long they intend to keep us in here,
Askett asked, peering through the bars that separated the corridor from the holding pen.
I'm getting hungry.
Adrian ignored him. He was looking down at Jen's tear-streaked face, his eyes locked with hers. Her breath was hot against him, and his against her.
Probably just food tablets, though, Askett mused. That's all you ever get on starships like this. No time for hydroponics when you're killing people.
Whatever else the little Cortai said was drowned out in a rush of hormones, as Jen's hot lips pressed against his, their tongues exploring each other while all too aware of the heat and curves of her body pressed against his.
God damn,
he half-croaked as their lips finally parted. She smiled at him.
God damn, to be sure.
Askett cleared his throat, notifying them that he was now standing just a few paces away.
I think you should both know that our interrogation is here.
Jennifer Delaney, mid-20s, space babe pirate queen, colonial governor, and most recently doing a top job impersonating space debris, was annoyed at having been interrupted by something as completely useless as an interrogation when there was kissing to be done. And other things too, if time and privacy permitted, although at this point she'd settle for 2 minutes and a pair of hand towels. Instead of relieving months of pent-up sexual tension, they were all sitting in the same interrogation room, surrounded by people who, by the size of the guns they were holding, had no idea what they were. That they were all in the same room for an interrogation was just the first indicator that these aliens had no understanding of how to properly perform one. This was exceedingly annoying to her, as was everything that didn't currently involve jumping onto Adrian and picking up where they'd left off.
Ixnay on the Umon, hey?
He asked her as they'd been sat down, and she'd nodded. It probably wasn't the best of ideas to go advertising themselves as natural-born killing machines, not after what they'd just been through, and the injuries that had been sustained. She had to keep reminding herself that Adrian still had a broken arm, and that it must hurt like hell, although he certainly wasn't showing it. An important-looking alien finally entered the room, some sort of bird-like assemblage of body parts with a long, crane-like neck and downy yellow feathers. It sat down across the table in front of them, confident in its superiority and supreme self-dignity. The resulting scene was one of pure ridiculousness. She traded a look with Adrian, rolling her eyes to indicate her thoughts on the matter. It was almost going to be too easy. "I am Fleet Master Kiziz," the bird introduced himself. That was definitely the kind of title that sounded impressive, and knowing the aliens, he really would be the master of a fleet. From what she'd established, they weren't really the sort to invent impressive-sounding titles that actually held no meaning at all. She wasn't sure why humans did that either. "Your names?" he asked them.
Please, allow me,
Jen said, using the chance to make sure the alien would actually understand them. He certainly seemed to, because he turned to her with a look of what she thought must be expectation.
I am NJ, she said, and this is my partner, Driane, and of course, our son, Skite.
Your son?
Kiziz asked in confusion.
He's a Cortai.
Adopted, of course,
Jen said, noting with internal amusement the total look of confusion on Askett's face. Adrian, for his part, was maintaining a total mask of congenial agreement.
We recovered him from a pirate attack when he was an infant, and he's been with us ever since.
Sometimes more of a pet than a son, Adrian added, but he tries.
Askett appeared to have given up on any resistance to the explanation. And nodded dumbly when the fleet master peered at him.
Hurt brain, he explained like a simpleton. Now, stupid.
A curious family,
Kaziz said, clearly lost in what the hell was suddenly going on. Most aliens didn't do so well when you completely destroyed their expectations, and it looked like Kaziz was the same way.
How did you come to be aboard that space station?
We were abducted, Adrian said bluntly. You know what the Kortai are like. It's all fucking anal probes with them. Jen barely suppressed a snigger at that.
They are known for their lack of ethics,
the Fleetmaster said tactfully, obviously wary of the presence of a Kortai amongst his prisoners.
What did they want with you?
They didn't get a chance to ask, Jen said. They were boarded by robo-slugs, who started shooting up the place.
Robo-slugs? You mean the Alabenelin?
Kaziz asked.
Kortai often employ them as mercenaries.
Maybe they decided to take control, Adrian continued. All we know is that the kinetic systems were destroyed and all the air went right out of it. It was a good thing we knew the beacon code for a friendly port.
A friendly port? Kaziz queried. This is the Vezan homeworld.
Friendlier, then,
Jen said.
They do say any port in a storm, don't they?
I've never heard that expression,
Kaziz said, pondering it.
But it makes sense. Aren't you Dominion, though?
If we were Dominion, why would we flee into the safety of Kelsey space?
Jen asked.
That wouldn't make any sense at all. We're just lucky you were on hand to save us from that death trap of a service vessel.
Kaziz thought about this, taking a moment to absorb it all, and still looked completely bewildered afterwards.
I just don't know what to make of it, he admitted. But we've plenty of time to figure it out. We'll keep you on the ship for now. Don't worry, you'll be well fed. And take you with us until the next core world on our journey.
Oh,
Jen asked, raising an eyebrow.
The Vezan homeworld isn't a core world.
Significant, but not core, Kaziz said, regardless of what they would have you believe.
What is the next core world? Adrian asked. We have personal concerns that can't be left for too long.
Critical,
Kaziz replied.
By way of the far reaches. We have to investigate the significant pirate activity in the area. It's causing the economy so many problems they're finally willing to throw some proper soldiers at it.
Very reassuring,
Jen said joylessly.
The best news I've heard all day.
At least it might get them close to Cimbrian. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this one today. I tried to make sure to record this one and get it out in a timely fashion. I should be done editing here in just a little bit. And I will be getting it out before I go to work today. So thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.